Well, hello there. Welcome to the Narrative Reading Bible Podcast. My name is Jessica. In today's episode, Job pauses his argument to reflect on the mystery of wisdom, declaring that true wisdom comes only from God, not human experience or reasoning. He recalls his former life of honor and contrasts it with his current suffering and humiliation. Job continues to defend his innocence and longs for hearing with God. In response, a younger man named Elihu begins to speak. He criticizes both Job and the older friends, claiming that God uses suffering to teach and correct, and insists that God is just in all his ways. We are reading pages 267 to 278 of the Narrative Reading Bible, Volume 4, and the text will be presented in the Berean Standard Bible Translation. Enjoy today's reading.
Surely there is a mine for silver and a place where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the earth and copper is smelted from ore. Man puts an end to the darkness. He probes the farthest recesses for ore in deepest darkness. Far from human habitation he cuts a shaft in places forgotten by the foot of man. Far from men he dangles and sways. Food may come from the earth, but from below it is transformed as by fire. Its rocks are the source of sapphires containing flecks of gold. No bird of prey knows that path, no falcon's eye has seen it. Proud beasts have never trodden it, no lion has ever prowled over it. The miner strikes the flint, he overturns mountains at their base. He hews out channels in the rocks, and his eyes spot every treasure. He stops up the sources of the streams to bring what is hidden to light. But where can wisdom be found, and where does understanding dwell? No man can know its value, nor is it found in the land of the living. The ocean depths say, "It is not in me," while the sea declares, "It is not with me." It cannot be bought with gold, nor can its price be weighed out in silver. It cannot be valued in the gold of Ophir, in precious onyx or sapphire. Neither gold nor crystal can compare to it, nor jewels of fine gold be exchanged for it. Coral and quartz are unworthy of mention. The price of wisdom is beyond rubies. Topaz from Cush cannot compare to it, nor can it be valued in pure gold. From where then does wisdom come, and where does understanding dwell? It is hidden from the eyes of every living thing, and concealed from the birds of the air. Abaddon and Death say, "We have heard a rumor about it," but God understands its way, and he knows its place. For he looks to the ends of the earth and sees everything under the heavens. When God fixed the weight of the wind and measured out the waters, when he set a limit for the rain and a path for the thunderbolt, then he looked at wisdom and appraised it. He established it and searched it out. And he said to man, "Behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to turn away from evil is understanding." And Job continued his discourse. "How I long for the months gone by, for the days when God watched over me, when his lamp shone above my head, and by his light I walked through the darkness, when I was in my prime, when the friendship of God rested on my tent, when the Almighty was still with me and my children were around me, when my steps were bathed in cream and the rock poured out for me streams of oil. When I went out to the city gate and took my seat in the public square, the young men saw me and withdrew, and the old men rose to their feet. The princes refrained from speaking and covered their mouths with their hands. The voices of the nobles were hushed, and their tongues stuck to the roofs of their mouths. For those who heard me called me blessed, and those who saw me commended me, because I rescued the poor who cried out and the fatherless who had no helper. The dying man blessed me, and I made the widow's heart sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. Justice was my robe and my turban. I served as eyes to the blind and as feet to the lame. I was a father to the needy, and I took up the case of the stranger. I shattered the fangs of the unjust and snatched the prey from his teeth. So I thought, I will die in my nest and multiply my days as the sand. My roots will spread out to the waters, and the dew will rest nightly on my branches. My glory is ever new within me, and my bow is renewed in my hand. Men listened to me with expectation, waiting silently for my counsel. After my words they spoke no more. My speech settled on them like dew. They waited for me as for rain, and drank in my words like spring showers. If I smiled at them, they did not believe it. The light of my countenance was precious. I chose their course and presided as chief. So I dwelt as a king among his troops, as a comforter of the mourners. But now they mock me, men younger than I am, whose fathers I would have refused to entrust with my sheepdogs. What use to me was the strength of their hands, since their vigor had left them? Gaunt from poverty and hunger, they gnawed the dry land and the desolate wasteland by night. They plucked mallow among the shrubs, and the roots of the broom tree were their food. They were banished from among men, shouted down like thieves, so that they lived on the slopes of the wadis, among the rocks, and in holes in the ground. They cried out among the shrubs, and huddled beneath the nettles. A senseless and nameless brood, they were driven off the land. And now they mock me in song. I have become a byword among them. They abhor me and keep far from me. They do not hesitate to spit in my face. Because God has unstrung my bow and afflicted me, they have cast off restraint in my presence. The rabble arises at my right. They lay snares for my feet and build siege ramps against me. They tear up my path. They profit from my destruction, with no one to restrain them. They advance as through a wide breach. Through the ruins they keep rolling in. Terrors are turned loose against me. They drive away my dignity as by the wind, and my prosperity has passed like a cloud. And now my soul is poured out within me. Days of affliction grip me. Night pierces my bones, and my gnawing pains never rest. With great force he grasps my garment. He seizes me by the collar of my tunic. He throws me into the mud, and I have become like dust and ashes. I cry out to you for help, but you do not answer. When I stand up, you merely look at me. You have ruthlessly turned on me. You oppose me with your strong hand. You snatch me up into the wind and drive me before it. You toss me about in the storm. Yes, I know that you will bring me down to death, to the place appointed for all the living. Yet no one stretches out his hand to a ruined man when he cries for help in his distress. Have I not wept for those in trouble? Has my soul not grieved for the needy? But when I hoped for good, evil came. When I looked for light, darkness fell. I am churning within and cannot rest. Days of affliction confront me. I go about blackened, but not by the sun. I stand up in the assembly and cry for help. I have become a brother of jackals, a companion of ostriches. My skin grows black and peels, and my bones burn with fever. My harp is tuned to mourning, and my flute to the sound of weeping. I have made a covenant with my eyes. How then could I gaze with desire at a virgin? For what is the allotment of God from above, or the heritage from the Almighty on high? Does not disaster come to the unjust, and calamity to the workers of iniquity? Does he not see my ways and count my every step? If I have walked in falsehood, or my foot has rushed to deceit, let God weigh me with honest scales, that he may know my integrity. If my steps have turned from the path, if my heart has followed my eyes, or if impurity has stuck to my hands, then may another eat what I have sown, and may my crops be uprooted. If my heart has been enticed by my neighbor's wife, or I have lurked at his door, then may my own wife grind grain for another, and may other men sleep with her. For that would be a heinous crime and iniquity to be judged. For it is a fire that burns down to Abaddon. It would root out my entire harvest. If I have rejected the cause of my manservant or maidservant when they made a complaint against me, what will I do when God rises to judge? How will I answer when called to account? Did not he who made me in the womb also make them? Did not the same one form us in the womb? If I have denied the desires of the poor, or allowed the widow's eyes to fail, if I have eaten my morsel alone, not sharing it with the fatherless, though from my youth I reared him as would a father, and from my mother's womb I guided the widow, If I have seen one perish for lack of clothing, or a needy man without a cloak, if his heart has not blessed me for warming him with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted up my hand against the fatherless because I saw that I had support in the gate, then may my arm fall from my shoulder and be torn from its socket. For calamity from God terrifies me, and his splendor I cannot overpower. If I have put my trust in gold, or called pure gold my security, if I have rejoiced in my great wealth because my hand had gained so much, if I have beheld the sun in its radiance, or the moon moving in splendor, so that my heart was secretly enticed and my hand threw a kiss from my mouth, this would also be an iniquity to be judged, for I would have denied God on high. If I have rejoiced in my enemy's ruin, or exulted when evil befell him, I have not allowed my mouth to sin by asking for his life with a curse, if the men of my house have not said, Who is there who has not had his fill, but no stranger had to lodge on the street, for my door has been opened to the traveler, if I have covered my transgressions like Adam by hiding my guilt in my heart, because I greatly feared the crowds, and the contempt of the clans terrified me, so that I kept silent and would not go outside, oh, that I had one to hear me. Here is my signature. Let the Almighty answer me. Let my accuser compose an indictment. Surely I would carry it on my shoulder and wear it like a crown. I would give account of all my steps. I would approach him like a prince. If my land cries out against me, and its furrows weep together, if I have devoured its produce without payment, or broken the spirit of its tenants, then let briars grow instead of wheat, and stinkweed instead of barley. Thus conclude the words of Job. So these three men stopped answering Job, because he was righteous in his own eyes. This kindled the anger of Elihu, son of Barachel the Buzite of the family of Ram. He burned with anger against Job for justifying himself rather than God, and he burned with anger against Job's three friends because they had failed to refute Job and yet had condemned him. Now Elihu had waited to speak to Job because the others were older than he. But when he saw that the three men had no further reply, his anger was kindled. So Elihu, son of Barachel the Buzite, declared, I am young in years, while you are old. That is why I was timid and afraid to tell you what I know. I thought that age should speak, and many years should teach wisdom. But there is a spirit in a man, the breath of the Almighty, that gives him understanding. It is not only the old who are wise, or the elderly who understand justice. Therefore I say, Listen to me, I too will declare what I know. Indeed, I waited while you spoke. I listened to your reasoning. As you searched for words, I paid you full attention, but no one proved Job wrong. Not one of you rebutted his arguments. So do not claim we have found wisdom. Let God, not man, refute him. But Job has not directed his words against me, and I will not answer him with your arguments. Job's friends are dismayed with no more to say. Words have escaped them. Must I wait, now that they are silent, now that they stand and no longer reply? I too will answer, yes, I will declare what I know. For I am full of words, and my spirit within me compels me. Behold, my belly is like unvented wine. It is about to burst like a new wineskin. I must speak and find relief. I must open my lips and respond. I will be partial to no one, nor will I flatter any man. For I do not know how to flatter, or my Maker would remove me in an instant. But now, O Job, hear my speech, and listen to all my words. Behold, I will open my mouth. My address is on the tip of my tongue. My words are from an upright heart, and my lips speak sincerely what I know. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life. Refute me if you can. Prepare your case and confront me. I am just like you before God. I was also formed from clay. Surely no fear of me should terrify you, nor will my hand be heavy upon you. Surely you have spoken in my hearing, and I have heard these very words. I am pure, without transgression. I am clean, with no iniquity in me. Yet God finds occasions against me. He counts me as his enemy. He puts my feet in the stocks. He watches over all my paths. Behold, you are not right in this matter. I will answer you, for God is greater than man. Why do you complain to him that he answers nothing a man asks? For God speaks in one way and in another, yet no one notices. In a dream, in a vision in the night, when deep sleep falls upon men as they slumber on their beds, he opens their ears and terrifies them with warnings to turn a man from wrongdoing and keep him from pride, to preserve his soul from the pit and his life from perishing by the sword. A man is also chastened on his bed with pain and constant distress in his bones, so that he detests his bread, and his soul loathes his favorite food. His flesh wastes away from sight, and his hidden bones protrude. He draws near to the pit, and his life to the messengers of death. Yet if there is a messenger on his side, one mediator in 1,000, to tell a man what is right for him, to be gracious to him and say, "Spare him from going down to the pit, I have found his ransom," then his flesh is refreshed like a child's. He returns to the days of his youth. He prays to God and finds favor. He sees God's face and shouts for joy, and God restores his righteousness to that man. Then he sings before men with these words, "I have sinned and perverted what was right, yet I did not get what I deserved. He redeemed my soul from going down to the pit, and I will live to see the light." Behold, all these things God does to a man 2 or even 3 times to bring back his soul from the pit, that he may be enlightened with the light of life. Pay attention, Job, and listen to me. Be silent, and I will speak. But if you have something to say, answer me. Speak up, for I would like to vindicate you. But if not, then listen to me. Be quiet, and I will teach you wisdom. Then Elihu continued, "Hear my words, O wise men. Give ear to me, O men of learning. For the ear tests words as the mouth tastes food. Let us choose for ourselves what is right. Let us learn together what is good. For Job has declared, I am righteous, yet God has deprived me of justice. Would I lie about my case? My wound is incurable, though I am without transgression. What man is like Job, who drinks up derision like water? He keeps company with evildoers and walks with wicked men. For he has said, It profits a man nothing that he should delight in God. Therefore listen to me, O men of understanding. Far be it from God to do wrong, and from the Almighty to act unjustly. For according to a man's deeds he repays him, according to a man's ways he brings consequences. Indeed, it is true that God does not act wickedly, and the Almighty does not pervert justice. Who gave him charge over the earth? Who appointed him over the whole world? If he were to set his heart to it and withdraw his spirit and breath, all flesh would perish together, and mankind would return to the dust. If you have understanding, hear this. Listen to my words. Could one who hates justice govern? Will you condemn the just and mighty one, who says to kings, You are worthless, and to nobles, You are wicked, who is not partial to princes, and does not favor rich over poor? For they are all the work of his hands. They die in an instant, in the middle of the night. The people convulse and pass away. The mighty are removed without human hand. For his eyes are on the ways of a man, and he sees his every step. There is no darkness or deep shadow where the workers of iniquity can hide. For God need not examine a man further or have him approach for judgment. He shatters the mighty without inquiry and sets up others in their place. Therefore, he recognizes their deeds. He overthrows them in the night, and they are crushed. He strikes them for their wickedness in full view, because they turned aside from him and had no regard for any of his ways. They caused the cry of the poor to come before him, and he heard the outcry of the afflicted. But when he remains silent, who can condemn him? When he hides his face, who can see him? Yet he watches over both man and nation, that godless men should not rule or lay snares for the people. Suppose someone says to God, I have endured my punishment, I will offend no more. Teach me what I cannot see. If I have done wrong, I will not do it again. Should God repay you on your own terms when you have disavowed His? You must choose, not I. So tell me what you know. Men of understanding will declare to me, and the wise men who hear me will say, Job speaks without knowledge, his words lack insight. If only Job were tried to the utmost for answering like a wicked man. For he adds rebellion to his sin. He claps his hands among us and multiplies his words against God.
I hope you enjoyed today's reading. Tomorrow, we are going to conclude our reading of the book of Job in pages 278 to 289. Until then, take care and God bless.